The family of Jasmine Newhouse says they should be preparing for her graduation tomorrow, but instead, they're in the hospital at her bedside, praying she pulls through.
There is no processing this. This is my worst nightmare, and I just wish I could be woken up from. My baby did not deserve this.
Let me ask you something. What would you do if someone you loved was in a dangerous relationship, and no matter how many times you showed up, no matter how many times you packed their bags and drove them away, they kept going back? What would you do when you've done everything you can and it still wasn't enough? That's exactly what Jasmine Newhouse's family lived through. And unfortunately, their worst nightmare came true on a cold January morning in Denham Springs, Louisiana. Jasmine was 18 years old. Just 18. She had only celebrated her birthday the previous September, which means she had barely had a few months being a legal adult before her life was taken from her. She was the kind of girl who lit up a room. Her mother, Twana Sibley, described her as a free spirit, genuine, loving, and beautiful inside and out. She had big dreams, too. After graduating, Jasmine had plans to enroll in the Denham Springs Beauty College. She wanted to build something for herself. She had her whole life mapped out in front of her. But before we go any further, if this is your first time on this channel, welcome to Shadow Crime. Hit that like button, subscribe, and make sure you click that bell icon so you never miss a case like this one. These are real people, real families, and real pain. The least we can do is make sure their stories are heard. Now let's get into it. Jasmine grew up surrounded by people who adored her. Her grandmother, Toni Griffith, spoke about her with so much love it was hard not to feel it through every word. Her mother called her everything she would ever want to be and more. This was not a girl who lacked love at home. She had people who would have done anything for her. So how did she end up in a relationship with a 35-year-old man named Dexter Boutte? That's the question her family still wrestles with. Jasmine was 18 and Boutte was 35. That is a 17-year age gap. And from the very beginning, the people closest to Jasmine could see that something was deeply wrong. The relationship was only about 5 months old, but in those 5 months, there had already been multiple domestic violence incidents. Her grandmother said she personally picked Jasmine up 3 different times with all of her belongings, trying to get her out of that situation. Her mother said it too. She said Jasmine would leave and then go back. Leave and go back. And as a mother, there's only so much you can do when your child is legally an adult making their own decisions. Twana even admitted she felt a personal responsibility for not doing more to stop the relationship, especially because of how large the age gap was. But at 18, Jasmine had the right to make her own choices, and that reality haunts her family every single day.
The family of Jasmine Newhouse says they should be preparing for her graduation tomorrow, but instead, they're in the hospital at her bedside, praying she pulls through.
There is no processing this. This is my worst nightmare, and I just wish I could be woken up from. My baby did not deserve this.
Twana Sibley says her daughter, Jasmine Newhouse, had been in a relationship with her boyfriend, Dexter Boutte, for about 5 months.
There's been numerous domestic violence calls made to the sheriff's department. She would leave, she would go back, she would leave, she would go back.
Around 3 a.m. Saturday, Livingston Parish deputies responded to a call about a shooting at an apartment complex on Magnolia Beach Road. Jasmine was found shot in the neck. Boutte told investigators the couple was arguing and wrestling over a gun when it fired.
She has such a good heart. She loves so genuinely that she didn't see all the evil that I seen in this man. I begged her to come home. I begged her to leave this situation, that we would figure it out. We would work it out. It was okay to just come home.
Jasmine's family says she was preparing to graduate from the Livingston Parish Adult Education Program on Thursday.
I'm angry. I am so angry. I am so angry. He was so selfish. He lived his life. He took that from my baby.
Sibley says she wants to be a voice for Jasmine.
There are so many other people like Jasmine out there, especially young girls, and it's very easy to get lost
manipulated
in all of that. and become the victim like Jasmine has.
Patty Joy Freeman, Executive Director of Iris Domestic Violence Shelter, says there are resources available for those who may be going through domestic violence.
Those who are going through that type of situation, that young, those are the person's teenagers you want to reach out to, or you want to find somebody who can reach out to them.
35-year-old Dexter Boutte remains in custody tonight in connection to the shooting. He is facing charges of attempted manslaughter and domestic abuse battery. Michael, Sylvia.
Now here's where things get really heavy. And I need you to stay with me on this one, because this is a part that a lot of people overlook when they hear stories like Jasmine's. Domestic violence does not always look like what we see in movies. It is not always visible bruises and broken bones. Sometimes it looks like a young girl who genuinely believes things will get better. Sometimes it looks like love that has been twisted into something dangerous. And sometimes, by the time the people around her realize how bad it truly is, it is already too late. January 31st, 2026. It is not even fully morning yet. Deputies are called out to an apartment on Magnolia Beach Road in Denham Springs just before 3 in the morning. Think about that for a second. 3 in the morning. Whatever was happening in that apartment had escalated to the point where law enforcement was needed in the middle of the night. When they arrived, they found Jasmine with a gunshot wound to her neck. She was rushed to the hospital in critical, life-threatening condition. Now, Dexter Boutte told investigators that the two of them had been arguing and that they were wrestling over a gun when it went off. He said it was an accident, that it just discharged during the struggle. And I want you to hold on to that explanation for a moment, because we're going to come back to it. But what investigators found at that apartment told a very different story. When they executed a search warrant, they discovered 2 firearms and narcotics on the scene. 2 firearms. And here's the thing about Dexter Boutte that makes this even more alarming. He was a convicted felon. That means he was legally prohibited from owning or possessing any firearm at all. So the question you got to ask yourself is, what was a felon doing with 2 guns in an apartment where an 18-year-old girl ended up with a bullet in her neck? Because here is what the medical details tell us. Jasmine was not just grazed. She was shot in the back of the neck, and the bullet traveled through her body and lodged in her right side. She lost a devastating amount of blood. By the time she reached the hospital, she was placed on life support. And for 6 days, her mother, her grandmother, and everyone who loved her sat by and prayed and hoped and held on. Can you imagine being Twana Sibley in those 6 days? Sitting in a hospital, looking at your 18-year-old daughter on a machine that is breathing for her, knowing that the person responsible is sitting in a jail cell telling police it was just an accident? Her mother said herself. She said, "There is no processing this. This is my worst nightmare, and I just wish I could wake up from it." On February 6, 2026, Jasmine Newhouse passed away.
A local mother is preparing to bury her daughter, who deputies say was a victim of domestic violence. But in the middle of unimaginable grief, she received an unexpected act of kindness. Perry Robinson is here with more. Perry.
Hey Liz, grief can feel overwhelming, especially when it comes without warning. But for one local mom, help came from an unexpected place.
I never thought I was going to have to bury my baby. I thought she was going to bury me.
The tears and pain of a mother living through the worst day of her life.
This is my worst nightmare that I'm never going to wake up from.
Just beyond this tall grass, inside this apartment building, is where Jasmine Newhouse was shot and later died. Detectives say she was killed inside her Denham Springs apartment by her boyfriend, Dexter Boutte. Twana Sibley is Jasmine's mother.
I'm never going to be able to watch her walk down the aisle. It's just a lot of hurt. It's a lot of hurt.
In the days since her daughter's death, Twana has been scrambling to pay for an unexpected funeral. That's until she says she received what she calls a gift from God.
My heart dropped.
Out of the blue, someone stepped in and paid for Jasmine's entire funeral. That person chose to remain anonymous.
I was really stressing how it was going to make my baby's last celebration something amazing for her. I was really beating myself up. Like, why didn't I take out life insurance?
Twana says without that help, she doesn't know how she would have made ends meet.
They have really put light into all of my darkness that I've had these last couple of days. And they are a true angel. they are a true angel that God sent me in the perfect time.
Twana says she hopes one day she can pay that love forward. And in a way, her daughter already is. Jasmine was an organ donor, meaning someone else will receive the gift that made her so special, her heart.
My daughter decided that she was going to give her big heart away, and God sent us an angel. God sent us an angel because he knew how great of a person my daughter was.
Jasmine's funeral will take place this Wednesday at the Brandon Thompson Funeral Home from 11 to 1. We will also include more details on how you can help this family on the 9 News app. Liz, back to you.
Okay, Perry, thank you so much for sharing that.
And this is a part of the story where I need you to really pay attention, because what happened after Jasmine died says everything about who she was as a person, even in death. Jasmine was an organ donor. She had made that decision at just 17 years old when she went to the DMV. Most teenagers did not even think about that, but Jasmine did. And when the time came, her mother honored that decision. She said, "My daughter decided she wanted to give her big heart away." The hospital staff lined the hallways in a full honor walk, a final tribute to a young woman whose life was cut short, but whose impact did not end with her last breath. She was approved as a full donor. The only organ that could not be donated was her right lung, and that was only because of the metal fragments left behind by the bullet that killed her. Even in the worst possible ending, Jasmine found a way to give life to others. That is who she was. Now, after her death, Boutte's charges were upgraded. He was no longer facing attempted manslaughter. The charges became second-degree murder, obstruction of justice, and being a felon in possession of a firearm. He is currently sitting in the Livingston Parish Detention Center, waiting for his case to move through the Louisiana court system. And while his lawyers will likely continue pushing the accidental shooting narrative, the evidence tells a much more complicated story. 2 guns, narcotics, a history of domestic violence, a 35-year-old man with a criminal record in a relationship with a teenager. You connect those dots yourself. But here's the moment in this story that genuinely stopped me in my tracks. After Jasmine passed, her mother was not just grieving. She was also drowning financially. An unexpected funeral is something most families are completely unprepared for. Twana said she was really stressing about how she was going to make her daughter's final celebration something beautiful and worthy of who Jasmine was. And then, out of nowhere, an anonymous donor came forward and paid for the entire funeral. $10,000. Just like that. No name. No recognition sod. Just a person who heard about Jasmine and decided to do something about it. The donor said simply, "There are times when you have to help people. I have the ability to help, and am blessed to be able to do this for the family." Twana called it a gift from God. She said God sent him an angel because he knew how great of a person her daughter was. The funeral was held on February 8th at Brandon Thompson Funeral Home in Denham Springs. And that brings us to where we are right now. Jasmine is gone. Dexter Boutte is behind bars. And a family is left trying to rebuild their lives around a hole that will never be filled. But I want to leave you with some questions to sit with, because I think this case deserves more than just a story. It deserves a real conversation. Why do we as society continue to normalize large age gaps in relationships involving teenagers without asking harder questions about power and manipulation? How many domestic violence calls have to be made before something more decisive is done to protect the victim? And what does it say about us that it took a tragedy for people to rally around this family when the warning signs were there for months? Jasmine was not just a victim. She was a daughter, a granddaughter, a dreamer, and even in death, a lifesaver. She deserved better. And the least we can do is make sure her story is never forgotten. If this case moved you the way it moved me, please hit that like button right now. Subscribe to Shadow Crime if you have not already, and click that bell icon so you're notified every time we cover a case like this one. These stories matter. These lives matter. And as long as this channel is running, we are going to make sure they are told. See you on the next one.